Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, the Falcons have a lot of questions to be answered at the quarterback position, but is Justin Fields the answer?
And one of our local guys is headed to Utah. One is not, but he did make another team.
That's all coming up next, right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. Today's episode of ATL Day One is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started today. Go ahead and do it. Why don't you? Now, but today, T, I think one of the things that I thought has been interesting is these quarterback conversations that we've been having ever since the Falcons season ended. Obviously, with Desmond Ridder getting 4 starts, we've agreed on this show that, hey, you probably should build around the dude because trying to bring somebody in for the immediate future to have success right now probably might not be the best decision.
Mhm.
But there are multiple reports that Justin Fields has been made available. There's a lot of conversations they had down at this Senior Bowl. I was down there, and there was a lot of conversation and freaking and fracking going on. T, I can tell you that much from what I saw. Now, but does Justin Fields make sense for the Atlanta Falcons, being that Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith passed on him back in 2021 when he was drafted?
Great point. And this is not an affront to Justin Fields, by the way, the comment I'm about to make. It's actually more of an affront to the Bears organization and their coaching staff, front office, sidelines, etc. What has Justin Fields shown in the time that he was bypassed by Smith and Fontenot to today that would say, hey, he's a viable option for us to go after because, hey, he's going to give us something more than Desmond Ridder. Now, maybe he will. Maybe he will. But have you really given Desmond Ridder an opportunity to show himself? Yes, the 4 sample size would say, the jury's still out. But I don't, at this point, think that Justin Fields is necessarily where the Falcons should go. Now, here's the good news, however. If you go with him versus, say, going after a Lamar Jackson, and again, totally different players, totally different success stories. Lamar Jackson's story is much better and deeper written, right, than, say, Justin Fields. But with Lamar Jackson, you already know you're going to have to give up half of what you own. Okay.
Yes.
This is almost like a bad divorce. You're going to have to give up 50-50 to him.
Indeed.
Justin Fields is probably going to be potentially attractive to teams that are actually deeper in the draft, right? Because they won't pretty much have to give up much of anything, maybe a couple second rounders or something to that effect. Mm-hmm. I just don't know. But the bottom line is, I don't know if it makes sense, all things considered, with Desmond Ridder and attempting to build around him, that you would go out and get Justin Fields, unless you look back, Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, and think about your decision back in 2021 and say to yourselves, maybe that wasn't the best decision and we want to revisit it. I don't necessarily see them as doing that.
Yeah, and I think you make an excellent point, right? It's saying not necessarily to say, hey, Justin Fields is a bum. I'm not saying that. But Chicago wasn't able to figure out how to unlock his potential till about halfway through the season, right? And they still were losing games. So when you think about that aspect of a 10-game losing streak, that is absolutely crazy. Like, so when you think about what you were able to see with that stretch with Justin Fields and what he's been able to put on the field right now as the film, watching the film, like I said, even though it's a smaller sample size than Ritter, it's 4 games. And I like what I saw. So, hey, here's what we need to do. Go ahead and doggone build a team around him and continue to do that. Now, I think that you could, if just from looking at those games from Justin Fields and Desmond Ridder, I do think he's a Ritter that is a little bit more polished of a passer. Yeah. And when you think about what Arthur Smith wants to do in this offense, and he can make he can make lemonade out of lemons. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? When it comes to a quarterback, we saw what he was able to accomplish with Marcus Mariota.
Yep.
However, I think if you're trying to get into that mode of being a mobile quarterback and using
Mhm.
those run plays, yeah, Arthur Smith can maximize his talent in that manner. But I really do wholeheartedly believe that Arthur Smith offense can be the most successful when you have an accurate quarterback who's able to take shots down the field and connect on those. And we saw how Desmond Ridder was able to kind of do that and build a rapport with a guy like a Drake London. So, and I think moving forward, Ridder is the guy. But another question I want to kind of run by you too, T, is the fact that we've kind of agreed. We've agreed that hey, Justin Fields is a no. That we should leave that. That's off the table, right?
Mhm.
We're not having FOMO for not drafting him back in 2021.
Yeah.
But do you think if the Falcons were to even consider this, right? If they were to even consider this, would this be more egregious than trying to trade for Lamar Jackson?
Yes,
Mm.
it would be.
Mm.
Because I would rather you go after Lamar Jackson and just be told no than to not go after him at all and go after Justin Fields. Now,
Ooh,
hear me when I
ooh,
say
you
this.
said something
If
you said something.
yeah, exactly. It's almost like going for, and don't get me wrong, again, Justin Fields, we love. Justin Fields, we believe in because, like you said, we saw what he did in the back half of last season, regardless of what the outcome was for the Bears. That's not his
Indeed.
fault. He produced. That was a team effort to lose that game, minus Justin Fields.
Right.
So let's take that away from the equation. But Lamar Jackson is kind of like, let's see, Jarvis. I'm going to try to say this nicely. Oh, I'm a Forerunner fan, right? That's my
Yeah.
next SUV that I'm going to get.
Yes, indeed.
Justin Fields is kind of like a Forerunner, still a very good car that we know has plenty of SUV potential, but he's not the big body Lexus. Think
Okay.
Lamar Jackson has already proven himself to be the big body Lexus. So I do think that it would probably be more egregious if you went after Justin Fields if, for an inordinate period of time, Lamar Jackson was still available. Now,
Right.
that said, if you and I come back to the table next week and all is well, Todd Monken and Coach Harbaugh and the Ravens organization has somehow kumbaya'd with Lamar Jackson and he's off the market, that's fine.
Yep.
But for as long as that dude is considering dating partners and dance partners, the Falcons should at least try to get into the dance and shoot their shot. Just saying.
Yeah, and it's funny that because that story is getting a little bit more interesting because there was a report that I had come across that when Todd Monken was hired that the Ravens actually consulted with him, and John Harbaugh even said that he would consult with
Yes,
Lamar Jackson in
he
the
did.
hiring of their offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
However, our guy Jonathan Jones said that he learned that they did not consult with Lamar Jackson. So it's just a lot of funkiness going on right now up in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And Todd Monken probably should have stayed his behind where he was until he figured out whether or not Lamar Jackson was going to be there or not. And I know for me, I would have made that phone call. Hey, Lamar, I am considering this job. Are you going to be around or not? I need to know.
Yeah.
Right.
So send your people to his people and try to figure it out, which he and his mom are his people. But yeah, I mean, try to figure that thing out because here's what it is. Like you said, you know where my mind went, Jarvis, and Falcons fans can appreciate this. My mind went to Tampa. Like, dang, Todd Bowles takes over.
Took a job down
only
there.
to not get right. And for Tom Brady to say two times in his tenure, I ain't coming back. I ain't never coming back. I mean, like, that is crazy. So that's what that reminds me of. Like, ooh, this new Todd Bowles had it happen to him. Now, Todd Monken, you might have it happen to you. Where literally the gold mine is gone. And what do? But I feel like, and someone said this earlier today, we were talking about, the whole Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, even to Pittsburgh. And I said, back up. We got a QB. We're good. Our sample size is a little bit larger with Kenny Pickett. And, I always juxtapose those like Kenny Pickett and Desmond Ridder because there was always conversation around them both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Pickett gave us a little bit more of a sample size in Pittsburgh, but you still have enough of a sample size in Desmond Ridder to give that guy a try. Now, if you and I are having this conversation 6 games in and Desmond Ridder doesn't look like that dude, okay, fine. ATL day ones will come back to the table, raise our hands and say, oops, didn't make a good call on that one. Yeah. But I'd like to see it first.
And you know what? And to be honest with you, it'll be more specific for me because, like, yeah, we didn't make a good call on Desmond Ridder. We'll admit that we're wrong. I got no issue with that. But guess what? If they draft a doggone edge rushers that has 5 sacks 6 games into the season,
Yeah.
I don't give a damn about being wrong.
Right. Do you see this?
Give me
Do you see
cheesy.
this?
They got an offensive tackle that replaced Caleb McGarry, or they got somebody in at left guard that's gonna be the starter for the next 10 years.
Yes.
That sign me up. I would be okay with being wrong in that particular situation.
Indeed.
Absolutely. So yeah, I wouldn't mind being wrong on that as well. Hey, guess what though? If you are tired of being wrong about making money, how about you go ahead and check out FanDuel? If you go and check them out, guess what? They got a new deal just for you because they are our new sportsbook partner for Locked On. So guess what? They partner with us, so they partner with greatness. So they have bringing greatness to the table. So here's what they got for you, right? If you new customers, you get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bucks back if your first bet doesn't win. How about that? That is really nice. So guess what? They got you locked in. So guess what? You are worried about security and information being passed around and all that stuff. Don't sweat it. They got it's safe, secure, and it's super easy to use. They got the over-unders, they got the money lines, they got all the things that you need in order to make you some money, because that's what it's all about. That's what we're trying to do. Get a little ahead a little bit in this inflation world. So yeah, eggs still cost doggone too much. I know they're going down, but it still costs too much. So yeah, get you some money so you get some eggs. How about that? So don't miss your chance to get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
So Jarvis, I got to admit, I have a little bit of FOMO because this is the first All-Star in a couple of years that I haven't been to. And I absolutely love to ski. That's my favorite thing in the world to do. But instead, I am back here in Atlanta like another one of our guys, Trae Young. We've been told recently, as in the last 24 hours, that Joel Embiid likely will not make the All-Star trip because of injury. So that leaves one opening, but it does not appear that Trey will be called up for that opening. Now, an interesting article was posted in Anscape. Our guy Marcus Spears over at Anscape created his own NBA All-Star snub list. And guess who was at the top of the list? Trae Young. What do you think about that?
Ooh, wow. So a couple things. Like, everybody knows how I feel about, Trae Young not making the All-Star game. And for those who don't know, I think it's ridiculous that he didn't make it. We got a guy who's averaging 27 and 26 and 10. It's kind of and leading the league in overall total assists. Yeah. So, going back and forth between he and Nikola Jokic. Yeah, like that's an MVP guy. So the guy that's actually competing with the MVP in a certain category should definitely be in the All-Star game. And I thought it was interesting when I read the little blurb that Marcus Spears put in there, which is really kind of got me going this morning. It said that the coaches, you got the fans and then the players, they have their say so, and then you have the coaches who vote in the reserves. And Marcus Spears wrote in there, said that the coaches didn't like, or essentially kind of used the spat between Nate McMillan and Trae Young as a reason for not putting him in here. So my whole thing with this, T, like, we always lift up the NBA players for being petty. You know what I'm saying? Because a good number of those guys are at a young stage of their life. You know what I'm saying? They're young. They're between 19 and 25. The good ones are, and then you got LeBron, the outliers and all that stuff. But T, we talking about grown men, coaches, guys who get paid to be examples for young men, being petty because of the spat between Nate McMillan and Trae Young. And at the end of the day, T, if it was a matter of those coaches who voted, if they mattered, if they had players that were super ballers on their team, it would eventually get out that they get into a spat with their sad player, because stuff happens. And my whole thing is, like, I get so frustrated when you have these situations leak out, not because I don't want them to happen or I don't think they happen. I know they happen. I know for a fact they happen. It's just a matter of they're getting leaked out at an opportune time when you letting go of your doggone general manager essentially and placing him to the side and say, hey, go on over here. You could be my special assistant till I fire you behind all the way in Travis Schlenk. I just think the timing of it was bad, but it really irks me, T, that the fact that you got grown men who are NBA coaches saying, now that Nate Miller might be their boy. Okay. But still, like at some point, you gotta draw the line and be professional and say, you know what? I might not like how this kid get down, but this dude is a legitimate all-star, and he should be on this roster.
So, Jarvis, he says so many things there.
Sorry, my bad.
I'm like, I probably should have been taking notes because I'm like, okay, wait, that. So here are a couple things. You're absolutely right. The NBA, we always say the players are petty. Oh, we're just going to say now the whole association's petty. We're just going to go with that.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's fair. Yes.
The pettiness of the leagues, because hey, I'm sure MLB has some pettiness, MLS, NHL, and of course NFL. We saw it courtesy of Juju Smith-Schuster. But in addition to that petty, there's no petty like NBA petty, right? So This should not surprise us. But also, one thing that we have to remember is, and you know this, as a former football player, it's a fraternity. At the end of the day, it's a fraternity. And so that is a fraternity of coaches, and that is a fraternity of players. And I can say it as a member of a sorority. Hi, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. It is a sisterhood, but a sorority, and it is sometimes dictated, as we joked about off air a couple days ago, just because I happen to pledge before somebody who's far more famous than I ever am. Step in the same room, however, because I went first, it's a pecking order.
Yes, indeed.
So, same thing for the fraternity of NBA coaches, pecking order. This started 2 seasons ago when word got out that there was some beef between LP and Trey. And then all of a sudden, LP, Lloyd Pierce, gets shuttled on out of Atlanta. Lloyd Pierce was a very respected coach and still is a very respected assistant coach who likely at some point will get another shot at a head coaching gig. Same thing for Nate McMillan.
Yeah.
Coaches and even some players felt like he got run out of Indiana.
As a player and a coach.
There it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when you think about it from that perspective, you can't be shocked that now, okay, maybe those are just rumors with LP. Maybe that wasn't Trey's fault. Now these coaches are like, now Nate is trying to get out of there because of him. He's the common denominator. Not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's the deduction that coaches have made according to multiple sources that I have asked, multiple NBA insiders. That's part one. Marcus Spears is very much an NBA insider. So if he's intimating it in that article, it's probably true. And then thirdly, Jarvis, let's be honest. A lot of players get a bad rap and they never get past that rap, or it takes them years and years and years to kind of undo that narrative. Unfortunately for Trey, he kind of had that narrative coming into the league. And then when he started kind of leaning into it with the whole Knicks thing, which, hey, down here we think is cool, and it is cool. Because if you want to rock like that, hey, look, go shoot daggers and kill folks all day, every day on the court.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
However, sometimes those worlds can collide. And then people start looking at you and they start judging you a bit harsher. So think about it. Nikola Jokic with the same numbers is not judged the same way as Trae Young, especially because, remember, Jokic was questioned in the beginning as well. But all of a sudden, the Nuggets started winning. And then the Nuggets became perennial top contenders in the West. Now they are looking like the team to beat. So that gets you a little bit more in the conversation, coupled with the fact that you already have an MVP. So how are we going to not send you to All-Star with those numbers and you're back in the MVP conversation? Trey has a lot of work to do to get there. Am I saying it's right? Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. Just saying that we've got to understand that there are so many layers to this. And to that point, Jarvis, when Trae Young and his camp begin to understand the layers of this, if you want some of those individual accolades down the road, they're going to have to start rebuilding a narrative for him as well. Now, speaking of a narrative that is being built, but it is being built from the ground up in the most positive way possible, AJ Griffin. He is one of 10 rookies selected for Rising Stars, and so he'll be out there tonight to play along with actually Jose Alvarado, who's being selected as a part of the sophomore.
Georgia Tech, yeah.
Exactly. So he's going to be with Team Powell tonight. And of course, AJ's going to be with Team Darren. And listen, 9 points, 9.3 points, 2.1 rebounds, an assist and a steal every game. That's what he's averaging in just 20 minutes in 55 games. Jarvis, how important is AJ, not just his growth and development for himself, but really for what the Hawks might try to do with the rest of this season and for going forward?
I think consistency, right? And the only way I feel like you can get consistency is you being on the court, getting more minutes. McMillan, I think that's because at the end of the day, like this kid hasn't, really played that much basketball. When you think about being a one and done in college, and then before that, high school, AAU, or whatever you may partaking in. So those are some of the things when you think about making that transition from college into the NBA. Sometimes it takes these guys a long time. We talked about yesterday as far as with Julius Randle and how long it took him a little while to kind of get things going and figure it out. Being drafted by the Lakers and the expectations that come with that. And then now he's in New York and he out here a perennial all-star and giving John Collins buckets every night, every time he plays him. Oh, sorry, I had to sneak that in. My bad. But anyway, but you get my point. My point is, I don't know why I'm on one today. I don't know what's going on with me today. But when you get to the point where those you have those guys being so young, I think it'll be beneficial for AJ Griffin to get as many minutes as possible. And I think Nate McMillan he may have to be a little creative with that, being that you got Sadiq Bey in the equation, because he's a veteran guy who can go back and forth between that 3 and the 4. Do you want to get more minutes at the 3, when to be in there with Bo, or do you want him to get more minutes instead of Bo? So all those things he have to go to really figure out when it comes to that rotation. But yeah, I think wholeheartedly, the more minutes that AJ Griffin gets, the more it's going to benefit the Hawks in the short term and the long term.
And I love the last part that you said, which to me reminds me of what we always talk about with the Braves. Embarrassment of riches, to be able to have AJ Griffin to have to try to figure out where to put him in the rotation. I think that definitely bodes well. And you know what? If you are hanging out, we always kind of tell you to use Built Bar as something that you would take on if you're not feeling so well. But you know what? We are going to be feeling good tonight because we've got not one, but really 2 locals in that Rising Stars Challenge tonight, because we're still rooting for Jose Alvarado as long as the Pels aren't playing the Hawks, right? So check out the Rising Stars Challenge while you take a bite of a Built Bar. Don't forget, you can go to Walmart and pick them up, or if you want to buy them in bulk, you can go to Sam's Club and you can get this protein. So let's just say you're looking to kind of get a boost tonight. 17 grams of protein should get it done for you with the churro flavor or almond. All good, while only taking down 130 calories. You cannot beat it. You can't beat that. So don't forget, it's Built Bar that you want for all the goodness. And it's 100% real chocolate, so that's always good as well. You can still go, however, to built.com because, hey, some of us don't like brick and mortar anymore. It's all good. All we need to do is make sure that you get a Built Bar.
Ooh, man, we're almost at 6,000 subscribers. We're on our way. We're well on our way. How about you? How about you get involved and go to our YouTube channel on Locked On? It's called Locked On Sports Atlanta. And if you're listening or watching this, or it's the first time you've listened or watched, welcome to the party. So how about you become part of the family and hit that subscribe button, and also take it another step, because we're all about taking that extra step on this show. Take the extra step and hit that bell and turn those notifications on, because you'll understand when that heat is going to drop right here on ATL Day Ones. But T, this is for the culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on the show. Today is no different. How about this? We got you told me about how you came across a certain show on NFL Network, and you saw my main man Jason McCourty out there rocking the Southern gear, right? You know how we get down on HBCUs on this show. We love ourselves some HBCU stuff. So when people out here giving credit, giving shout outs, and rocking the gear, got to give them a little shout out. So yeah, shout out to you, Jason McCourty. But T, my question to you is, who would you like? You can be entertainer, rapper, artist. I know I just named 3 things that are kind of fall up in the same category, but that's just how we rolling today, because that's the type of day I'm having today. Now, or it could be an athlete, whoever. Who would you love to see rocking that Xavier gear at any point?
Well, from an entertainer's perspective, she is a sister who is getting her flowers right now, and it makes me so very excited to see her getting her flowers, and that is Cheryl Lee Ralph. I have been
Okay.
a
Oh
Cheryl
yeah,
Lee Ralph fan
that's a
from
solid one
so
right
far
there.
back that I can't even speak on it. Like, I love her to pieces. So, of course, Soror, Cheryl Lee Ralph is the entertainer who I'd love to see, the actress, so to speak, who I'd love to see rocking that. I think it would just be cool. And you know who else I would love to see? And he may have done it. So if he's done it already, forgive me. But I think Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar, I believe if he rocked that
Nice.
Xavier gear, he would be the person who would like drop knowledge to people about who we
Yeah.
are, and he wouldn't just be
Yeah.
rocking it. Yeah, he would put a story behind it. Heck, maybe we'd end up in one of his, bars or something. He'd drop a bar or something on us. And then, as far as athletes go, thank you to Chris Paul because he's already done a little bit of that in the
Yeah.
past. So I do definitely appreciate him for doing something like that. But also, I'd like to see somebody, who is fun and exciting and, you know, before, and I'm going to say this with all sincerity, before people kind of took him as a joke, but now I think people have such a greater appreciation for a J.R. Smith and what
Mm.
he's done going
Yeah,
back
that's dope.
to
Yeah.
school, embracing, college culture, embracing the HBCU culture. So, hey, if he decided he wanted to rock more gear than just Aggie gear and show some Aggie pride, if he just wanted to show some HBCU pride, hey, J.R. Smith, pull up. We got some swag for you.
Absolutely. So yeah, for me, there is only one person, and I know you probably assumed,
Yeah,
that I will probably say Dion because
I
I
thought it
know
was
people
Dion.
listening and watching, they'll probably say, yeah, I know Jarvis. What did? No, no, not Dion. Prime my dog. That's my guy. That'll be my A1 today till I leave this earth. But I will have to say, if Andre 3000 said that I want some HBCU gear, and he just so happened to hit my line, please believe I will be sending it back like, sir, what size do you need? I got you. They ain't worried about it. So, but yeah, he's because he's on that level as far as the Kendrick, as far as a deep,
Yeah.
deep thinker, and like, people. Every time he open his mouth, you're like, oh, did you hear what Andre 3000 said not too long ago?
Mhm.
So and from a lyrical standpoint, and just having with conversations that he's had in interviews over the past decade or so. So yeah, I would love for a guy like Andre 3000 to rock that bad boy. And at the end of the day, this kind of goes to my fandom. Growing up, uh, growing up in the city of Atlanta, and kind of understanding what it was when Michael Vick was the quarterback for this team, and it was a party. Let me just say that. And yeah, I wouldn't mind for my man throwing that blue and gold every now and then, if to kind of represent. But speaking of representing, we talked about earlier how Trae Young is not going to be at the All Star game, but guess who's going to be there? AJ Griffin. He's going to be participating in the Rising Stars Challenge.
Yay.
T, is there anything? I know AJ Griffin, probably going to have your eyes on that. However, what is another event? The 3-point contest, slam dunk contest. Are you interested or intrigued at all by any of those events this weekend?
For me, it's the skills challenge because it would
Okay.
be really cool if we got to see all three Antetokounmpo brothers together. Oh, that would
Nice.
be so cool. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
think it's a great story. I think it's a cool story that, I mean, how does that happen? Giannis, Alex, Thanasis, like all three brothers end up in the league and everybody has a ring and everybody has skills. That is crazy. So I'm just kind of interested to see that. Also, the dynamic. We have been very fortunate of recent watching the whole cool dynamic of Trey, Travis, and Jason Kelsey. And of course, we actually just talked about some brothers from back in the day, Jason and Devin McCourty, and then recent Hall of Famer Rondé Barber, and of course his brother Tiki. So it's always kind of cool to see brothers who've made it to that highest level be able to interact and be able to perform at the highest level. I'm watching out for them. Want to see if they do it. And I know Giannis is a little bit injured, but he's still listed as being part of the skills challenge. So fingers crossed he'll be able to perform this weekend.
I want to see Kevin Herter win the doggone 3-point contest for petty reasons.
Hashtag petty.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, why not? So, like, of course, the guy that they decided to trade away for financial reasons is gonna go out and ball. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is so Atlanta. Like, that is so Atlanta
You know
sport
what? You're right. That's not petty. That's
professionalism.
so
You know what
Atlanta.
I'm
You are
saying?
right.
Like, yeah, go ahead and win the doggone 3-point contest, Red Rifle. I know you got it in you. I know you got it in you, my man.
Of
So
course.
yeah, we hope you guys enjoy the weekend as well. Obviously, we come back, we will be talking about all of that. All-Star, AJ Griffin dropping 50 in the Rising Stars game, like all that, man. We talking about all that on Monday. So guess what I need y'all to do before we get up out of here? I need you guys to share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.